The Goblin Builder is back in Clash of Clans, and not only is he worth every gem, but he's better than he was previously. So in this video, we're going to break down why the Goblin Builder is worth it for every player, why he's better than he was previously, and whether or not you should invest into ores or the Goblin Builder. And I guarantee by the end of this video, any player watching this video will know exactly how to spend their gems throughout this event. But before we start analyzing the Goblin Builder and its gem cost, we need to have something to compare it to. In the past, we used the Books of Heroes as it was really good value for the 500 gems that we spent on it, but ever since the Hero Potion rework, this is no longer the case. Now we could use ores, but that gets a little bit situational, so we'll talk about that later in the video. The best and most versatile purchase we can use is the Book of Building and the Book of Fighting, which both cost 925 gems in the shop. This is especially true when we look at the time skipped in general. A Book of Heroes gets you a max of 8 days for 500 gems, while the Book of Building or Book of Fighting gets you a max of 16 days and costs less than 100 gems. And once again, this thing just completely blows the Book of Heroes out of the water anyways. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and analyze how the Goblin Builder compares to the Book of Building or the Book of Fighting. The Goblin Builder and Researcher have a standard price of 40 gems per day. This means a 12-day upgrade would cost 480 gems and a 16-day upgrade would cost 640 gems. Contrast this to the books, which can give you 16-day upgrades for 925 gems. As you can see, the Goblin Builder gives you a really amazing rate compared to these other books. But let's use the Book of Heroes as an example as well, just in case some players have only a few hero levels to go. The max upgrade time on hero levels is 8 days without the gold pass. This upgrade can be done for 320 gems by the Goblin Builder, so he's faster in that regard too. These numbers are all pretty much the same for the lab as well, because ever since the time reduction update a few months ago, the upgrade times for the labs and the buildings max out at 16 days. So pound for pound, the Goblin Builder is actually a lot better than a lot of these books, but there's actually something else about the Goblin Builder and Researcher that players usually don't take note of, and that's the fact that the Goblin Builder and Researcher charges you a rate of 40 gems per day instead of a flat price for a magic items. So what? You're paying in a different way. Does it really make that big of a difference? Well, yeah, it does, and let me explain why. Say you have a Book of Building that you can use on a 16-day upgrade. If you bought that book for gems, you're paying about 57 gems per day. But how many players are actually at the level where they have 16-day upgrades? If we check this chart from ClashSpot, it's actually not that many. If you're using the Book of Building on a 12-day upgrade, which is the least that I recommend, then you're actually paying a rate of 77 gems per day. The point I'm trying to make here is that when you buy a magic item, it is the same price no matter what, no matter how long that upgrade is. The exact opposite case is true for the Goblin Builder. It doesn't matter how long your upgrade is, you're still going to get a standard rate of 40 gems per day, which is better than any other rate in the game. Now this is especially significant when it comes to players below Town Hall 14. This is because players below Town Hall 14 do not get the 12-day upgrades in the first place that would justify a Book of Building or a Book of Fighting. However, with the Goblin Builder, you can get similar value, and it doesn't really matter how long the upgrade is, as you're paying a standard rate for your time. So all in all, the Goblin Builder isn't just justifiable for a lot of players, it's actually more than worth it for you to invest into. But how is the Goblin Builder event that we have now better than the original Goblin Builder event that we had before? We already know that the same rate has been used both times, the 40 gems per day, so it can't be that different, can it? Well, even though the Goblin Builder is the same as it was before, the entire game is a lot different. A lot of the upgrade times are shorter than they were before, but the rate of the Goblin Builder is the same, meaning we get better value for every gem that we spend. Think about it like this: the longest upgrades in the game used to be 20 days long, which would cost 800 gems with the Goblin Builder, but because of the recent changes, the longest upgrades are now 16 days long, so they cost 640 gems. In essence, you get better value out of every single gem because as a whole, the time to max is just a lot shorter. Thus, this image of the Goblin Builder from Clash of Clans isn't just a bluff, it's actually pretty accurate. Now, it would be unfair for us to analyze how the game changed in one aspect without looking at how the game changed in other aspects. And of course, I'm talking about equipment. I feel like I always am, to be honest, and how we can buy ores from the shop now for gems. Now, in my videos about how to spend your resources properly, I really broke down how I think ores are the best value for your gems, since there are no other accelerators currently for you to use on your hero equipment. Now, this is true for the most part, since everyone and their mom wants a max level haste vial for the royal champion so that she looks like this random dude from a random anime. But that being said, you can't really justify spending the gems if you look at the time. The glowy ore is 150 gems a pack, and since it's the limiting resource, it's nice to get, but players can make up the amount that's given in that pack in about 2 to 3 days. The Goblin Builder can use those gems for 3.75 days of upgrades. The starry ore might be worth it if you're getting absolutely nothing from Clan Wars, but for players getting an appreciable amount, 275 gems is actually a really heavy cost, especially if you consider the fact that the Goblin Builder can turn that into 7 days worth of upgrades. And the shiny ore, well, we probably already get enough of those. With all things considered though, the value from the glowy ore and the Goblin Builder is somewhat comparable, so which one should you go for? The answer to this question, ironically, has nothing to do with value, but has everything to do with player behavior. What you have to determine is what is your limiting factor. If you're a player who consistently has your builders down, but you're struggling to get ores from war or from higher leagues, then you might just want to get the ores. On the other hand, if you're a player who gets tons of ores but are struggling to complete a lot of upgrades, you might want to consider the Goblin Builder. And I'm going to say this really firmly for anyone who cannot keep their builders down anyways. Don't spend extra gems on efficiency when you're not even efficient in the first place. Fix your efficiency first. The other thing that players should consider is the level that they're at. For players below Town Hall 14 and specifically players below Town Hall 12, I don't think you guys are strong enough to get ores in the first place, and it's better if you upgrade your account more to get to that point where you can get ores as well as get good magic item value. And since we've already established that the rate for the Goblin Builder is the same regardless of your Town Hall level, then this is the right option for you. Now, I know that I just spit a lot of recommendations at you guys all at once, and that's really tough to deal with, so use this chart right here to determine whether you should commit to the Goblin Builder or not. Obviously, it won't cover every scenario, but you should be able to figure it out if you use this as a starting point. And since everybody really wants to for some reason, here's another picture of the Goblin Builder so you guys can punch him. Make sure to punch him really hard or else he'll waste all of your gems. And if you don't want the Goblin Builder to waste your gems, and if you don't want to waste your gems yourself, then you need to know what the best way to use the gems are even when the Goblin Builder isn't available. That's why you need to watch this video right here that tells you the best way to spend all of your resources in Clash of Clans, no matter what Town Hall level you are.